Okay, as promised, we're doing a video on how to put these pieces together. So if you guys remember from yesterday, through this base form and then through this top form, right? And when I was looking at it last night, I thought, you know, I think that top form is going to be a little too big for this form. And when I put this on here and take a look at it, I think, yep, that's too big. So I have thrown another one that's a little bit shorter. That one's 8 inches, this one's 7. And I think that has a nicer look. It just is a little bit more balanced. And I think it's the right call. So if you'll notice, I'm able to pick these up. They're not moving, they're not squishing. It's at a nice firm leather hard. And you want both the piece that you're attaching to and the piece that you're attaching to be that leather hard. If they're too soft, I'll attach this and this will sink. Or when I'm putting this on, this will get altered in the form, and that's a bummer because you threw it right, right? Right. Okay, so now the interior of this is a little bit funky, a little bit messy.
Can't see it.
Oh.
There you go.
There you go. Interior of this is a little bit messy, right? So, two options. I could change my wheel and set this up to trim this inside. That takes some time, and I know that I can do it just as easily with a knife. So I've got my fettling knife out, and I'm just going to trim some of this out. And you'll notice that clay's softer because that's been on the wheel head, or been on the bat overnight, as opposed to the other that was exposed to air. But so I'm just trimming this out at an angle so that I keep my flange nice. Oops. And then I leave a little of this flat because that's going to be where I attach. Right, so I'm pretty happy with that. That also trims some of that weight out, which is nice. So get a nice clean trim in there. All right. Now I'm going to put this down on here, and I'm going to center it, right? So not centered right now, right? So I'm seeing that it's leaning this way a little bit. I'm going to bring it up, and now we're on. Okay, now I'm going to take my wooden knife, and I'm just going to draw a little line at the outside of that. And so now, when I look here, I've got a nice space from the interior to the exterior. And if you remember, when I measured with calipers, I had the opening, but then I expanded it by about a ½ inch on each side, and that's about, well, I've got a little bit more than that, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to take now, and again, you can do this all centered. If I took this all off the wheel, this would be a labor that would take me a lot longer, but I'm just going to use my serrated rib and score this area where it's going to be attached. Can do it on the round, which is nice. And I'm going to change directions so I get some cross hatching so it'll hold real well. And then I'm going to take and score the base of this as well. Just the part that's going to attach. All right, and then I've got my super stinky slip. It's molded. Want to smell? Anyway, if I ask you to smell it, don't. Okay, so some nice liquid slip, right? I don't want this to be really heavy, so I've got to squish down all of my score marks with my slip. I'm going to lay a nice thick bead of slip on top of those score marks. There we go. And then I'm going to take my attaching piece here and do the same. Slipping, I guess you can't see it at that angle. I'm going to slip this all up nice. There we go. Okay. Now, because I have this line here, it's going to be fairly easy to center this piece back on, but allow yourself to adjust, so don't stick it down real hard right away. Right, I'm just letting it sit up there. Oop, not quite. There we go. So now I'm centered on there nice, right? So now the attachment. Now if you remember, when I made this, I can barely get my hand in there, and I don't want to mess with that so much. So I need to be fairly gentle about my approach to attaching. So I'm just going around, giving it a soft push with my finger while it's spinning slowly, slowly, slowly. And this is going to go around 4 or 5 times before I get it fully attached. And then if you remember, we talked about whether or not you want to leave the visual seam, or if you want to blend it into the pot. And that's a decision that I don't usually make until it's attached real well, and then I'll either accentuate that line or blend that line. So we'll make a decision here in a minute about how that goes. But so just by gradually, gradually, gradually pushing down, now you can see the slip squishing out. That's the sign of a real good bond. You want to see that slip coming out from between those layers. Squishing, squishing. Oh yeah, now we've got a good bond. So again, this is why you want to leave your bases attached to that bat so that you can, I didn't have to recenter this. I didn't have to get out any special equipment to get this guy ready to attach the top. But now, little by little, I'm getting this blended well. And it's looking pretty good. I might have a little too much kind of visual weight up here, so I might trim that out a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of an attractive piece. I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to go through again with just my finger, and I'm pressing down to get that bond real good. Pressing down, and you always have to futz with these. It's not like you just pop that thing on top and call it good. You have to futz. So just know that ahead of time. There we go. Getting all the slip off. Not bad. Okay. And now I'm seeing that I don't like how this curve kind of hesitates up here before it goes into that body. I want this to blend. I think I'm going to blend it. What do you guys think? Blend it? Yeah?
Yeah.
I've got an audience here. I've got an audience. Yeah, I think I want to blend that. So I'm going to grab my trimming tool real quick. And I want a round one, not a square one, because I'm dealing with round angles here. But I'm going to trim this out a little bit in here. And I know I've got enough extra clay in there that I can do it. There we go. Bring that down. Is that a little better? Yeah. And these are, I'm just making visual calls on this. I'm just looking at it as I build and thinking, I had the plan in my head when I made it, but there's always going to be adjustments, so I'm okay with that. There we go. Yeah, that's working now. That's working. Okay, I'm going to do one more pass with the trimming tool softly. Don't need to take much more clay out, but I want to even up my attachment, because you can see that there's a little space on that attachment. It might just be that I didn't push it down as hard there, or it might have been when I trimmed the interior, I didn't get it quite perfect. But ooh, yeah, I like that. Okay, now I'm going in with a red rib or a silver rib. Actually, I think I'll start with silver. And now I'm just blending that line in. So if you remember, it went from pushing down what was a pretty heavy edge on that attachment, and then by pushing it down, I blended it and thinned it, and then just a little bit of trimming to even it up and make it cohesive. There we go. That's pretty nice. What do you think? You happy with that? All right, the audience approves. Now I'm going in with the red rib and a little bit of water just to blend it and make it nice. Make it pretty. Ta-da! Combined form. I'm going to add some handles here, some nice little character handles, something to add some visual interest to it because it's a fairly plain form. But again, this will be a great vase for my house where my kitty likes to tip things over, or Or if you're doing very tall kinds of plants, this is going to have a nice steady base so that they don't tip. All right, thanks guys.